Talking Shirts is presented in partnership with White Oak Cottage. For more information, visit whiteoakcottage.co.uk.
Hello and welcome. This is episode number 152 of Talking Shirts. I'm Mike of Hull Car Shirts, and today we're going to take a look at this 2025 alternate Venn shirt. So the shirt that we've got on the mannequin was 1/3 of the kit set for the 2025 treble winning season. It was complemented by the navy twist and the home kit. Now, the Venn shirt gets its name from the design elements that are included within the shirt. So obviously we know it as the Venn shirt. The reason it's called the Venn shirt is because John Venn, he designed and created the Venn diagram. He was born in Hull, and that's where the connection kind of ties in with. Now, the design across the shirt has various Venn diagrams. Now, on this occasion, the Venn diagram, it has consisted of 3 circles that are all kind of interconnecting. And as each circle crosses, there is a little sort of segment of each one that crosses over. And the idea behind the Venn diagram is that different elements from different things can combine and they will share a common cause or a common connection. Now, that idea and the ideology behind that was used to create the design of the Venn shirt. Now, the Venn shirt it's kind of a two-tone shirt, and I say kind of because technically I guess it's 3, because your Venn diagrams, which have been dye sublimated into the shirt, are also a shade of purple. So we'll go with 3-tone. We've got the lilac, which is the main colour of the shirt. We've got the deep purple, which houses all of the maker, marker, sponsor, club crest. And then also we've got that 3rd shade of purple, which is part of that Venn diagram. So on the front of this shirt here, we've got IRS. Again, they've allowed their branding to be transformed into a different colour, as has Colscath. Connexin also have done the same, allowing for this uniform look across the entirety of the shirt. We have got our Oxen maker marker, which features centrally and just slightly above what we have seen on the home kit, where it was a little bit lower due to the fact that the neckline came down. We've got the Hull KR Club Crest, which again is in that deep purple, which I think looks really, really strong against the lilac background. We've got the gel grips on the front here. These have been applied in a different manner for 2025, as we've spoken about across a couple of episodes now. And it definitely feels sort of more robust than that we've seen in the past, where it's kind of been a giant X. Those little Oxen logos, they tend to sort of peel a little bit and start to rub off, whereas I've got a feeling that this one here is going absolutely nowhere. So let's have a spinner of the mannequin. Let's have a look at these sleeves. So on the left sleeve as wearing, there isn't actually any heat applied elements to it. We've seen in the past where we've used this sort of sponsor space. During the regular season, that didn't happen. We did have Specsavers on there on the home kit for the grand final, and we had latest group on there for the Challenge Cup final. So as we know, there is the opportunity for us to be able to sort of expand those sponsorship opportunities. But as I've said, during the regular season, there wasn't anything on there. So the Venn design continues onto the sleeve, and then we've got Keep Moats branding that has been dye sublimated in. Those guys sponsored the club for a few years. We did see their branding heat applied it in 2024. And then in 2025, it was obviously dye sublimated in because the agreement was formulated a little bit earlier. As I've said underneath there, no heat applied elements, so you can really see those Venn diagrams on there in all of their glory. As we take a look round the other side here, so again, this is now where we find our competition patch. So on this sleeve here, we have got that Super League competition patch, but what you can see is various damage going on and kind of flowing around there. Now, what that is at some point, this has had a different competition patch applied to it. Now, we didn't actually wear the Venn shirt during our Challenge Cup campaign. So we know that it's not a Challenge Cup patch, which means that it can only be one of the oversized Super League competition patches for games that are played in France. So what I think has happened here is I think this has had a Super League patch applied to it, which is what's here, and then it has had over the top of that one of the oversized Super League competition patches when we played in France. We did play in France, I think it was in July in 2025. So this shirt will have likely have been possibly worn, but certainly prepped for that game against the Catalans Dragons. Now, the way that this has been done so these oversized Super League patches don't feature the Betfred branding. They're just a kind of a solid patch. I will pop a picture up of one so you can see what I'm referring to. But they're ever so slightly bigger than the Betfred Super League competition patches. So if you apply one over the top of it, they are quite easy to peel off. But what you'll find here is all of this residue is where it hasn't been fully peeled. Look, you can kind of see underneath it. But what's happening here is the connection point is on the shirt and not on the competition patch. And what that means is that the glue, if you like, will stick really, really well to the fabric. This is why these competition patches don't generally go anywhere. However, if you apply a competition patch over a competition patch, the adhesive on the back of the top patch doesn't stick properly to this vinyl that's underneath it. Whereas if it was stuck to a fabric or a material, then that wouldn't go anywhere. However, because it's been applied over the other vinyl, it will just rip off, which is probably what's happened here. It's not been done very neatly either, as you can see by the fact that we've got quite a bit of residue going on here. Just under here, you kind of see where that competition patch ends, and then it's now completely stuck to the fabric underneath. So yeah, quite interesting. If this was worn late on in the season, then by late on in the season, I mean obviously after the Catalans Dragons game in July time, then what we can probably do is use this to try and photo match, because these elements that are still here in theory should appear on photography. I have photo matched this to a shirt, but it was earlier in the season, so yeah, that's definitely something for me to look out for. Once I photo matched the shirt to one game, I kind of leave it there. You know, I don't need to know if it was worn in multiple. But once I've found that first one out, then, you know, I'm normally a very happy guy. Just above that, we've got University of Hull, another brand partner that has sponsored the club for a few years now. That was heat applied during the 2023 season, but for 24-25, and then now in 2026, it has been dye sublimated into the shirt using their sort of new logo and their new branding. So that's everything for part one of Talking Shirts. We're going to have a quick word from our sponsor, and then after that, we'll be back. We'll talk a little bit about Peta Hiku and the rest of the Venn shirt.
White Oak Cottage is a 2-bedroom luxury holiday cottage set in the stunning Lincolnshire Wolds. It has 2 ensuite bedrooms, a hot tub, wood burner, Wi-Fi, electric vehicle charger, and is pet friendly. It is ideally situated in the Wolds, yet only 15 miles from the coast and 25 miles from the historic city of Lincoln. For more information, visit whiteoakcottage.co.uk.
Welcome back to episode number 152 of Talking Shirts. Before the break, we was talking our way around Peta Hiku's 2025 alternate Venn shirt, and now we are here with the reverse. So the back of the shirt continues with those design elements that we referred to in part one. The Venn diagram, they do a feature prominently all the way across the back of this shirt. There is no breakup, due to the fact that it's not obstructive enough to require a name and number block on the back of the shirt. We have got the Hull KR icon, the robins, that features in its usual spot just below the collar. On this one, it is within a deep purple circle, and then the lilac element features the design elements of the robin. Underneath that, we've got Harrison Solway in probably what is the second closest iteration to their genuine branding on a Hull KR shirt. Obviously, on the Mine shirt that we covered in episode 151 of Talking Shirts, it was on the front, and that did feature in their natural colourway. However, this one is pretty close, but it's not quite right, and then underneath here, we have got Higher Base, and again, every single one of the brand partners that feature across the Venn shirt have allowed the colours of their branding to be manipulated to fully benefit the aesthetics of the shirt. On here, we have got Hiku and squad number 3 that has been heat applied. These name and number letters and the blocks, these have been applied in navy, which I absolutely think is the right colour to have used on the back of this kit. We could have gone white, but I just don't think it would have worked. I think it would have reflected light in a really negative manner, making it really hard to see during a game. A black, again, could have been an option, but the navy for me is the perfect choice. I think it works really, really well. And in some lights, it probably even looks purple, as is the branding on the back of the shirt. So yeah, for me, they got that absolutely right with going with navy. Hiku obviously has been applied as a block. All the letters are sort of equally spaced, and I think it's fairly central looking at it. I think it's pretty good on the back of there, as is the number underneath. Obviously, we've seen some runaway numbers in the past where things necessarily haven't quite lined up as well as you would like. But on this one here, this has been done really, really well. So, Peta Hiku, he joined the club ahead of the 2024 season. He's done 2 seasons with us now, obviously he's into his 3rd. He's made a total of 66 appearances. He made his 66th appearance against the York Knights, and he will make his 67th appearance against the Brisbane Broncos in the World Club Challenge. This has been recorded ahead of that game, which is why there is no mention of the result, because I don't know, I'm not psychic, but we will focus more on this one. So yeah, 66 games he's played so far in his Hull KR career, and in that time he has scored 24 tries. Hopefully that information's wrong because he's bagged against Brisbane, but we shall find out. Peta's career with Hull KR started a little bit rocky, really. He was brought over as a first choice fullback. He was given squad number 1 for that 2024 season, and he made his debut at the MKM Stadium against Hull FC in what most Rovers fans would probably describe as a bit of a calamitous performance and debut from Peta. It didn't go well. His goal kicking was way off the mark, which was something that he'd been kind of brought in specifically to do, and that did see the club kind of operate a quick change around goal kicking and who was going to take them. And after a few weeks, we did then see Peta move into the centres, where he had an amazing performance against the Huddersfield Giants, where he scored 2 tries playing at centre. And from that moment, he really hasn't looked back. I would argue he's probably one of the best centres that we've had in the Super League era. And for me, he deserves absolutely everything that he has earned at the club in the last couple of years. I'm really glad that, we had the opportunity to stick by him. And that positional change really has emphasised how good of a centre he is. Without this guy playing at number 3, we probably don't win the treble, in my opinion. I think all of the value that he adds across the team is far greater than he's just won some of his position. I think he's a good foil for his winger. Tom Davies obviously played an absolute blinder across 2025 as well, and their partnership for me was really, really important on that right side of the field. Peta obviously featured in almost every game that was physically available to him across the last 2 seasons. I think from memory he may have only missed 1 game, and I think he was rested for that. So there's no sort of questioning his commitment and his physical ability. To have only missed 1 game through a selection choice and not through injury or anything, as a guy that's coming probably towards the end of his career, is certainly something that we have to be complimentary of. And the way that he's featured and played across those 2 seasons for me, he is somebody that will go down as a bit of a hero in East Hull. So yeah, that's been the Venn shirt. Couple of other little things just to kind of just finish on. So yeah, the Venn shirt was actually a fairly good sort of shirt for us in 2025. We wore it on 7 occasions. We won 6 of those games. The only defeat that came in this shirt was our 2nd visit to Headingley when we faced the Leeds Rhinos, where they absolutely destroyed us that day. They got on top of us early and they just kept the momentum rolling. Absolutely fantastic value Leeds was for the victory that day. We had already won in this shirt at Headingley earlier in the season, but obviously it wasn't to be on the 2nd occasion. And then a little bit about the Venn shirt. So me and Les Motherby had a conversation back in 2022 with regards to sort of different ideas about what clubs could do to make kits. And we was chatting about sort of the possibility of a Venn diagram shirt being a thing at one of Hull's clubs, whether that could be Hull City, Hull KR, even Hull FC. And I promoted that idea to Hull KR back in 2022. And when nothing happened for a couple of years, you're kind of thinking, well, it's probably not going to come to fruition. But when this one came out in 2025, I was really pleased to see that an idea that had sort of, I won't necessarily say started with us, because I think somebody else at the club as well also put forward an idea that was kind of very similar. So for us to kind of have all had our sort of individual input into something that's obviously, kind of come out into into a full-blown playing kit. It is quite special, really. I'm not claiming any of that. The idea was Leslie's. He was kind of just chewing my ear off about how cool it would be to see something like that. And a couple of days later, I'd got an email from Hulk AR just asking if I had sort of any potential ideas for, the future and beyond, really. So a lot of it was around the timing, but as I've said, there's a chap at Hulk AR as well who also put forward this idea. So I'd like to think that everybody played their little part in that and just kind of, formulated together to be able to put something as pretty special and as cool as what this is into manufacturing. I do have another shout out. I'd just like to give a quick shout out to Paul Whitehurst. You may have noticed that I'm wearing a microphone today. This is the first episode that I've recorded using this technology. Paul had watched a couple of my videos and had kind of said that he feels like I would benefit from having a wireless microphone. So Paul has very kindly lent me his just to try out, just to see how I get on. Hopefully the audio has been pretty good, nice and clear. Obviously, at time of recording, I'm not quite sure how it's come across, but fingers crossed it's really good. And then when I get done with the editing, I'll obviously make a decision whether I'm going to sort of do it and use it going forward. Some of you may be familiar with Paul. Paul is a club photographer at Hulk AR. He has social media accounts for his photography. He does cover other clubs as well. I think he does quite a lot for Hunslet, and he also does some photography for Hull City as well. So if you have a look for Pete BW Media across social media, make sure you're giving his pages a follow, because he does have quite a lot of Hulk AR content on there. I know he does some work with the foundation at Hulk AR as well as the ladies team as well. I think he's got a really good rapport with some of the girls down there at Hulk AR. So yeah, please check out Paul's page as well. And again, mate, thank you very much. Hopefully this has come across nice and strong. Thank you very much for watching. Please feel free to check back in another couple of weeks where I'll be back with a brand new episode of Talking Shirts. Bye for now.